Who are the coolest dudes on the planet?
United States veterans.
What's the coolest sport on the planet?
Pro wrestling.
And what would be the coolest podcast on the planet? That would be this one.
U.S. military vets talking pro wrestling.
This is the No Shave Man Cave. Two badass disabled vets sharing their love of pro wrestling, giving you their perspective as fans, talking about current events and matches, history of titles, and who knows what else. Let's do it.
Welcome to the No Shave Men Cave. Now your hosts, Ellie Jair and Jay Tilley.
Greetings, fam, and welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. This edition of the Friday Night Smackdown review. I'm Ellie Jair.
Hey, and I'm Jay Tilley.
You betcha. And we're here ready to get it on, man. And I tell you, they came from Evansville, Indiana. We're coming to you from Florida. And I would say the crowd was just about as hot as it's going to be here today. Record temperatures. I thought the crowd in Indiana was pretty hot.
Did you? I thought they were kind of quiet through a lot of it. I'm
Yeah,
sure. Maybe I had the volume turned down, but yeah, I didn't think they were as hot. They definitely weren't as hot as Canada.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's a
felt
good
like they
point.
were-
And yeah,
You could tell they were back in the United States. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
here's the kind of slow clap crowd. They popped for a few things, but I thought overall it was not as hyped up as it had been.
yeah. I think it's tough to compare a pay-per-view crowd to and I don't want to say house show, but a live event crowd.
Right.
And the timeliness of it, and I think I don't know what was going on to the prelude, but I thought when they had the intro, and it seems like Elimination Chamber was so long ago, but they rolled through what occurred. I'm like, oh goodness, This is the first Friday Night Smackdown after Rampage or after Elimination Chamber. So it was like, oh. So you knew you were going to get some interviews. You knew there was going to be some USO talk, and I fully expected to see what we saw a little bit later on when someone showed up.
Yeah.
So it was, I feel like we got a little bit of everything. I'd have to go back through and look at the notes, but I think the crowd was like around 7,000, and Rampage was like 3,500.
Yeah.
But the crowd in Phoenix, especially for Rampage, which we'll get into later, they were almost like they were just exhausted by the time it got to Rampage. So, but yeah, no, I felt like the crowd was their pops were timely. They cooperated, I guess, lack of better terms. But you're right. I mean, you can't compare that Montreal crowd or that Ottawa crowd to the Indiana crowd. That
Right.
You're spot on with that comparison. So the video package ended, and you knew from last week that you were going to see Charlotte and Rhea go face to face, and I'm glad that they didn't touch. I thought that was pretty good. I didn't necessarily like the Dom piece, but whatever you can do. So
I thought the Dom piece was okay. I really felt like they were going to be setting up for well, I mean, I know we're going way far in the show because that's a lot further down, but
yeah.
I thought for sure we were setting up for like Andre Elideo showing up.
Oh my goodness!
But
dude.
I believe he's still under contract with WWE or AEW. But I just felt like, oh, what?
Yeah, I think he's injured too, so I don't know if AEW
Yeah.
is going to pause his contract, which I hope they don't. But
They did with Kenny,
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, ouch.
but who knows?
Yeah, so the video package ends. We'll get back on track. Sorry, I saw this shiny object over here. So the video package ends, and just like most episodes with WWE programming, it starts in the car, the car park or the stadium parking, and you see Jimmy, and Kayla's there, and Jimmy's pretty confident he's going to be here like he was when we had to defend the tag team titles. I'm like, okay, cool. And I still think there's a swerve in there. I can't figure out what it is because they tricked me twice last week, or twice this week. So I'm totally confused as a fan, and I love it. The total suspended belief. So So she pointed out, hey, are you waiting for the arrival of the bloodline? And I'm like, well, Roman's not advertised to be on the show. So I knew it wasn't going to be him. So you knew Solo was going to be there. And I find it interesting that Heyman travels with the belts now.
Yeah,
So
I thought that was weird.
I'm not sure what that represents, but whatever. So they're making the title more than the man, whereas usually the man makes the title, which with this circumstance, Roman and the title sort of have made each other. So
Right.
I think it's really going somewhere, and it's eventually it's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. So Jimmy's got nothing but the utmost faith in his brother, and he said, we're gonna handle it. We're gonna handle it together. What were you thinking at that point? As soon as Jimmy was done talking.
I just figured we were going to have a segment in the ring, probably Sammy show up. Kind of actually almost what happens at the end. I was kind of saying, okay, he's going to come out. We're going to do the same thing where Jay doesn't show,
Mhm.
and then he's going to come through the crowd. But in the meantime, I actually thought Sammy was just going to go right on the attack. I didn't know it was going to be a conversation. But yeah, I kind of saw it coming a little bit. At least Sammy showing up. I probably would have preferred a straight up attack. But I understand, like, he's doing the psychological game instead. So he's going to try to tear the bloodline down mentally since he couldn't do it physically.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of what I thought. I figured, okay, we'll have a one-on-one. The other option would have been the two of them in the ring, just, talking to each other. But
yeah, I thought it would be. I didn't think we were going to get what we got. I'll just say that. So afterward, they're in the Ford Center, which they didn't really talk about because it's Evansville. They've got a small community college, and it's a small community. So we roll right into the 6-man with Braun Strowman, Ricochet, and Madcap Moss. And the first thing that stuck out was Ricochet, and I'm used to him in the Prince Puma gear from Lucha Underground, or the superhero esque gear that he's worn since he came to the main roster, and he's wearing a cut off T-shirt, and Madcap Moss has got the boy cut wrestling shorts, and then Braun's got his usual monster pants on. So they come down, and then Imperium comes down, and you can tell a unit from a hodgepodge.
yes.
And the Imperium looks so strong. And once they decide what they're going to do with the tag team titles and what they're going to do with Gunther, I think that just the aesthetic of them was phenomenal. So they come in, and the match rolls in, and it sort of played out the way you thought it would. There'd be some big man action. There'd be some tag team action. Imperium would look strong. Ricochet would do some high spots. Madcap would use his power, and then Imperium would get the win. What did you think of the match?
I thought the match was great. So back onto your thing about the gear, I noticed that also, and I wondered if it was because they're trying to match the gear with Braun's. So they're both wearing the same kind of shirt. Now they both got, so they're red and black.
Okay.
So maybe
Okay.
this wasn't just a one-off tag team. They're going to keep them a tag team for a while. It's kind of the impression I got when it came to the gear part, because I noticed it too. I'm like, Ricochet usually doesn't wear a shirt.
Yeah.
He usually shows off like, hey, how ripped he is and everything. So I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That
thought
spot.
Madcap being in it was odd.
Yeah.
Because they almost did like a heel turn with him last week, and the way he was acting going into the match, and then this was like a reset back to his character that he was before. I don't know. It was just kind of odd. It felt, I don't know. I just remember going, this is not the same character he played last week, which was not the same character he played the week before.
Right.
This character is like the one he played 2 weeks. It was just almost like last week was an anomaly.
Yeah.
With his bravado and him thinking he's the best there. So it was just kind of weird. Ricochet, amazing. Some of the stuff he does just defies gravity. Watching him just fly around that ring, I'm pretty sure he was in the majority of the match, which was good.
Yeah.
I like the double then triple team with Imperium when they had Ricochet kind of isolated. They did the clothesline with the leg sweep, and then Gunther walks over and picks him and just slams him on the softest part of the ring, the apron there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change
Yeah.
the narrative. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
As we all know, the hardest part of the ring. But I thought that whole
Mhm.
sequence was really nice, really put together well. The match flowed pretty good. I was impressed with it. It wasn't, yeah, I was impressed with it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, they touched a couple of times on the fact that Ricochet was the man that Gunther beat for the Intercontinental title. They touched real quick that Madcap had challenged for the Intercontinental title and wasn't successful. And then when they had Braun and Gunther in the ring, you could tell that something was building, but I wasn't sure if it was between Braun and Gunther or if they were just trying to tell the story. Look how big Gunther is,
Right.
and almost went off on a tangent. He was on the bump recently and did an interview on his weight loss. Woo! So I knew they were building for
Tangents
something.
are good. We could do tangents.
Yeah, I knew they were building for something, but I didn't think it was as much about Strowman or Ricochet, or certainly not Madcap. It was more about Gunther. But I thought they kept Gunther strong. I thought Ricochet looked fantastic, um, and Imperium looked fantastic. So Imperium gets the win, and then you see McIntyre come down, and I don't know why he had to be on, but he was on, and he was in Indiana, so let's do it. And almost distracted, but not. Didn't really play into the 100% play into the finish of the match. And then the Viking Raiders came down and ambushed um, McIntyre, which then brought Sheamus out. They had the little Donnybrook outside. So it was, you got a little bit of everything. You got the big man part of a match. You got to see Ricochet fly. And then you had the usual run in.
Yeah. So now that you brought up the end of the match stuff, you kind of touched on it. The storylines started to not make sense. So I agree. It looked like they were setting up. Oh, okay, we're going to set up Braun versus Gunther. All right, I could see that. That'd be a good match. Then we had the McIntyre thing. I'm like, oh, we're going to set up Gunther and McIntyre. Okay, cool. That's cool. Maybe a triple threat at WrestleMania. Then the Viking Raiders come out and they jump him. I'm like, wait, now I'm confused
Right.
because then you had Braun and Ricochet jump the Viking Raiders. So now I'm like, okay, are we doing Braun and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders? I just felt like it kind of all got jumbled up, and I don't know where it's going to go. Are we going to do maybe Sheamus and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders and put Braun and Drew in a match with Gunther, which wouldn't make sense because you're trying to build. I'm with you there. It kind of got a little convoluted there at the end. I didn't know what storylines were converging, what they were breaking off of. If you'd have left it with just Drew, not had the Viking Raiders attack, then I could say, okay, we're setting up Drew versus Gunther, WrestleMania.
100%.
Great
Yep.
match. But yeah, having them attack him when I thought that feud was done just kind of threw a big wrench in the whole. It made it very icky.
Yeah. Icky, that's what you. Yeah, so all I wrote was question mark, dot, dot, dot. So I was gonna sort of go through some of uh, I don't want to say dirt sheets because there are some reputable wrestling magazine virtual editions on the internet that aren't dirt sheets. But yeah, trying to figure out, you've got a tag team that comes out and jumps a single guy. His tag team partner, buddy, comes out. They're sort of building toward a match with Sheamus, McIntyre, Gunther for the Intercontinental title, which then would either strengthen their bond or break them up and build another feud. And now they're going to go back and dance. Then are they building for a six-man, like a 3 tag team match with the Viking Raiders, Braun Strowman, and Ricochet versus Imperium, and whoever wins that would then face the winner of the Smackdown Tag Team Championship? Or Yeah, so I was just like, man, like, and it's good if you leave a show with more questions because you're like, okay, cool,
Right.
that you can build some storylines, but to leave scratch in your head, that's probably not what you want. But
It's very old WWE, which is what turns some
hmm
people off. Is the I don't understand what's going on now. I will say it's a little better to the fact that they didn't just
hmm
drop storylines, but
right,
yeah, it made it very, like I said, convoluted. I didn't
yeah,
understand what the drive and what the direction was coming out of
right,
it.
yeah, and then throughout the show, so they cut to commercial, and there's been the Elimination Chamber slash WrestleMania commercials, which are freaking fantastic. What's up with the boy? I didn't know you were such a close talker. So you had the Man and the Joker commercials, and then you had the what was there was another commercial that came on, and then they did the rivalries on
Yeah,
A&E, and then you had the there's another A&E show that's getting ready to come out, which is Legends. So it's Legends and Rivalry. So a new season of those came on. So great
which
commercials. Everything was all tied in. So it was you watch some wrestling and then you watch commercials about wrestling and then you roll back in to a backstage segment. So I
so
hit pause at that point because I
re-
had some notes. So I was
yeah,
like,
and real quick, I just wanted to. So the Legends thing right now, they're focusing heavily on Jake the Snake Roberts. I thought it
yeah,
was very ironic that this was the we'll get to the Friday Rampage, but this is the Friday Rampage where Lance Archer comes back with Jake the Snake Roberts.
yep,
I'm like, yeah, Tony knows what he's doing. That
yeah.
was it. I just want to make that comment because I thought it was pretty funny.
No, I'd caught that too. I was like, oh, Grizzlies or Jake Roberts is appearing, and this, and I, flipping back and forth because I had recorded the first hour of the show, and by the time a couple of those commercials came on, I started flipping. I was like,
Hmm.
nice programming. Just like when AEW first started, they had commercials on USA and Fox, and I was like,
Oh, yep, yep,
nice touch. And you see prior WWE guys and A&E or AEW. I keep saying A&E, AEW guys. They're now AEW guys, but they came from the WWE. I was
yep,
like, yee, that's a nice branding crossover because I talk to wrestling fan or I talk to people every day and they'll see a t-shirt that I'm wearing. So like today I took a photo when I went to the Giants Jaguars game and I was wearing a mask. And so I usually have a wrestling t-shirt and I'll start and then this will spark up a conversation whether I'm at work or grocery store or whatever. And it just was like, a nice tie-in going back and forth and I like part of what they've done so far, and we're partially into the show a little bit, but at the same time, like what we were saying, kind of a head scratcher. But then I like how you pointed out, Tony knows what he's doing, so
yep,
there's some gamesmanship going on. So the so great commercials, confusing segment before this part, and you see Rey Mysterio backstage talking, and out comes Phantasmo, and I was like, or Santo Escobar, and
yep.
I'm like, And when he said, if you need to teach him some respect, boom, I was like, man, we're gonna see Dom get slapped around,
I was so
and
excited.
I was so ready for that, man, so ready for that. But not that it's a bad thing. You get to see Karrion Cross's entrance because that's kind of a fun entrance. But so so they go to the ring. Ray has a match with Karrion Cross, and they're sort of building that up. But then there's a there's a moment there when Rhea gets between Dom and Santos, and
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
during the interview. Yeah,
man,
I
just like
like
and, mm,
I like the fact that like Rhea's the heavy. So you
yeah,
watch like the mafia shows or you watch gangster movies, and you've got the boss, and then you've got his heavy, or the little squirrely dude, and then the heavy that's the one that, and I love that Rhea's the heavy.
Yeah.
She's the one that, or even in wrestling storylines.
Yep.
You look back at, Bobby the Brain Heenan had, his heavy with him, or $1 Million Man hired Andre the Giant as his heavy. So you've got the person with a bigger guy that's their backup. And I love that it's Rhea. Yeah, I thought the Rey Mysterio Santos thing was definitely a pretty cool setup. I like Dom with the, you better back up what you say because in the yard we'll take you out. And I'm like, what? And I love Santos' face, like, and he looks at Ray like, can I handle this? And Ray was just like, I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So then they go to another break, which was kind of frustrating. And we talk about like when the matches, and I'm sure we'll get into when we get to the Rampage show, the picture-in-picture stuff. So they cut to another commercial when they'd been on for 7 minutes. I was like, oh. So another commercial, and there was a segment about rivalries and then our rivals, sorry. And it was a short commercial break. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then they come back from commercial and they're backstage again. And this time they're with the Bloodline. And you have Jimmy and Solo sitting on the chairs, and you have Heyman in the backdrop, and he's got his phone. And I'm like, well, I'm sure he's not playing Clash of Clans or whatever. He's handling some business, and he shows Jimmy the phone and says, hey, you need to handle this before next week. Otherwise, Roman is going to handle it. And I was like, man, this is going to be interesting. And I still didn't think we were going to get what we got at the end of the show, but I thought it was interesting, and I still don't know what Solo's voice sounds like.
Yeah, I don't think he still said a word.
Yep. Yeah, so they shoot backstage. That segment ends, and then I found it kind of interesting that Paul said to Solo, "Hey, you stay back here with me." It's like,
Yeah.
So now you're making the calls. So, and then if some of the stuff I heard from the Elimination Chamber and all that sort of played through my head, like, wait a minute, he was trying to chicken out with Owen, so I'm now he's making calls with Solo, and I don't know. So yeah, I thought that was something else. And then my guy comes to the ring, L.A. Knight, yeah, and he wants to talk to you. Everybody in Evansville, shut up when he's talking, and then he gets confronted by the New Day. And I thought there were some pretty funny one-liners with it, and they both talked about how did that work out for you.
Yeah.
And interesting back and forth, and not necessarily a big fan of when wrestlers make matches, but Austin Creed, what's the New Day?
It's
Kofi
funny
Kingston.
in my notes I have him as Austin Creed too.
Yeah, me too.
Because I couldn't think of his Xavier Woods.
Xavier Woods calls to Adam Pearce, hey, if you want to make this official, just bring a referee down. And he kept saying Nerd Day. I was like, oh my god. So the referee comes down. They have a match. Some good spots. I thought Kofi looked pretty strong, and I didn't realize how the leaping ability of LA Knight, because when he jumped up to the top rope, I was like, okay, now, all right. So, but they cut to a commercial during the match, and when they came back to commercial, I don't know what signal, because I don't remember like when I went to a live show if they signaled like, hey, we're back from commercial, but the crowd they were live, like loud.
Yeah.
So I thought something must have happened right as they came back from commercial break. It was they were doing pretty good. So the match continued, and then you heard so Xavier blows the trombone into LA Knight's face, which distracted LA Knight, gave Kofi the opportunity to hit his move, and the winner of the match, Kofi Kingston.
Yep. Match was decent. I did like some of LA Knight's when he said, I'm not here for a WrestleMania moment. That's stupid. Everybody should be here to make money and win titles. WrestleMania moments don't matter. I was like, that's pretty good. And he said, I'm going to make it an LA Knight moment. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. So I thought he's so good on the mic. And I love how he baits the yeah. So let me talk to you. Yeah. Let me talk. Yeah. And then when they do it, he goes, stop, I'm talking. Don't over talk me. So really good heel work in that. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was,
I like that.
yeah. He's good at that. Extremely fun match. Enjoyed it very much. So yeah, not a whole lot to add. You kind of covered it. I mean, there wasn't anything like, oh my gosh. I think it's setting up pretty good. I'd like to see Austin Xavier Woods and LA Knight at WrestleMania. I think that'd be a pretty good match.
Yeah, I think that would be really good, and hopefully it's building to where we'll see Big E, whether he's in like a ringside capacity or not, because it's right about a year when he broke his neck. So
Yeah.
he didn't have to have surgery, thankfully, and all indications are that he is going to be able to get into the ring. So so the match goes. They get they cut to commercial. They return, and out comes Charlotte Flair. And I originally thought that the two of them were going to have a match because the way they had announced it on last Friday when they said that they were Rhea and Charlotte were going to go face to face. So in my little brain said, "Oh man, why are they going to have a match when they're already going to have a match at WrestleMania?" If anything, I would build to that, and not that they were listening to me. But yeah, thankfully they didn't touch, like literally didn't touch. They were like nose to nose. And then the talk about the back and forth, man. What did you think of that between Charlotte and Dom?
It was all right. So I think I said a couple weeks ago, like, I'm just not digging this Charlotte character.
Mm-hmm.
She's coming off, like, when she was addressing the audience in general, she was coming off fake to me. Like, I didn't appreciate it. Then she kind of slipped into some of her heel talk when she was talking to Dom. Like, I could see the old Charlotte there. And I appreciated that. I'm like, that's the Charlotte I want to see, is the smart ass comments, the hitting back. And yeah, I thought it was decent back and forth. I mean, Dom is like the worst slimy. He's so awful that he's great. And it's, and he knows it too. And I think that's why they're leaning into it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, the back and forth was okay. I always appreciate when mommy comes out. So she comes out and doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything, just gets in her face and then leaves, which I thought was a little weird. I thought maybe we'd get some mic talk, but literally they just went face to face and she left.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I thought it was funny when they were talking, and Dom tried to like he was gonna play the male role in Charlotte's life, and she was like, "Hey, I've got a real Latino at home, a real man, not a." And then she looks him up and down, which is like probably the worst look a dude can get.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Not a boy toy," and I was like,
And not someone with such a small accent. I was like, I see what you did there. You made a dick joke.
Yeah, I thought that was I thought that was really good. So the back and forth was really good. I like how they made Charlotte look aesthetically, the height difference. Because she had the high heels on, and it kind of goes back to the story that's being told where Charlotte didn't put Rhea in her place. She taught her a lesson.
Right.
This time at WrestleMania, she's going to put her in her place, and then she shows that she's a little bit taller. And then during one of the interview build-up packages, Charlotte said it's going to take it's going to take a lot longer than 3 years to get to my level. I was like,
yeah.
woo. So
yeah, I'm enjoying their back and forth. It's not great. It's not as good as some of the other stuff going on with like the men's division, but it's better. It's good. They need to heat it up a little. I mean, I like the story behind it, but I'd like to see some heat, whether we have Rhea attack her and put a good beat down on Charlotte or something to and we got time. Like, it's not till April, so we've got 5 weeks of television.
Yeah.
I think it is, to go through it all. So we got time to get there, but I definitely want to see them heated up.
Yeah, 10 shows, and if they were to do some strategic programming, drop some commercials in on NXT, that would give them 15 opportunities to heat that up. Maybe get a little bit of social media action going.
Yep.
And I think this can be a really good match. It's funny you mentioned the women's storyline. So this month being Black History Month, next month is the women, basically Women Appreciation Month, and we're going to do some spotlight and hit them with our Mount Rushmore and influential women and stuff like that. It's funny you mentioned the storylines because there's on Busted Open, they even talked about how there's a lot of strong women examples on some of these rosters, and they're just not being used. So I was flipping through on the various wrestling company websites, and they only have 8 women listed on AEW's female roster. So it's
Really?
And WWE has a little bit more because some of them are listed even though they're not showing up on TV. So there's I think there's 21 or 22 women. So if, like you said, if they could heat it up, I think they could have a tradition versus up and comer kind of a thing. A second generation against the disruptor, as she refers to herself, and I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yep, I agree. They just need to heat it up a bit.
Yeah, so then we roll into the next match, and it's Natty against Shayna Baszler. And I don't know what has been going on since Natty came back, but I don't think she's 100% healthy because the way she was moving in the ring and like the stutter steps she was doing and having to pause. I wrote down, and this is not a knock on the wrestler that came to mind, but I wrote down Dana Brooks.
Yeah.
Because of if she's in the air, Dana Brooks looks great, but when she's running toward the ropes before she turns, she does this little like half step, and Shayna looks like her game is improving, and Natty was kind of regressed. So they go through the match. There was a little bit of back and forth, and when Natty did the belly to back suplex, the way they landed, Natty landed way before. So I don't know what was going on, and Natalia is powerful. So that's what led me to kind of jot down in my notes. I think she's not 100%, whether it's her cardio or she's still injured or she's worried about hitting her face again because she busted her nose and did something with her orbital bone. But so they go through the match. They both get some shots in. Natty tries to hit her finisher, put her in the submission, and they go outside the ring. And I didn't even recognize Ronda Rousey. She looks like she's slimmed down, almost like she's back in the UFC where she would like cut quite a bit. It could have been the way she was dressed too, but so they get back into the ring. Now they're in separate corners when they were just locked up on the floor. So I was totally confused on that. And fast forward to the end, Shayna gets the finish. She hits her with her submission, and again, Natty made it through the Heart Dungeon. Shayna Baszler is a credible MMA competitor. Shayna gets Natty to tap, and then in comes Ronda, and I thought, oh man, business is about to pick up.
Yep. And not much to add. It was a decent match back and forth. I'm trying to think of I can't think of. I want to say Dakota Kai. Was it Dakota Kai? That was
Keegan Knox.
Keegan Knox, that's who it was. Yep. Yeah, Keegan Knox at ringside. Decent back and forth. Not much to add to it. It was what it was. I will say that when Ronda got in and Keegan Knox got in and hit her with that drop kick, that looks stiff.
Yeah,
and bounced around off the ropes and out of the ring. That looks stiff.
Yeah, we'll go back through, but Tegan is my pick to win the Queen of the Ring, which is one of, I think it's in April, so there'll be 2 pay-per-views in April with WrestleMania and then King and Queen of the Ring. So Tegan is my pick for Queen of the Ring, and King is going to be Tez. So hopefully his head is okay after getting his bell rung during
You got worked.
You
got worked.
Yeah, I'm air quoting. So yeah, so there was a little bit of yelling, and Rhonda referred to Tegan as Skittles.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Taste the Rainbow or something, and maybe because of her
probably because of her hair.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, probably could have been that. So, but Knox looked good. Natty got some help, so I don't know if that's a way. Hopefully, that's not how they get Shayna and Ronda on the show of the Immortals. But what I think will happen is the Damage Control will drop the titles to Lita and Becky, and then it'll be Becky against Lita or Becky and Lita against Ronda and Shayna, and then Ronda Shayna will be your tag team champions. So hopefully,
that's what I see happening too.
Yeah, hopefully put some credibility on it. So, so they cut to commercial, and there was another Rivals commercial, and then there were 2 food commercials. So I hit pause, went and grabbed some Crunch and Munch. This segment is brought to you by Crunch and Munch. So I went and grabbed some Crunch and Munch, had a handful, woke my dog up, so she was all over me. She loves popcorn, and that was probably the most exciting part of the next like 20 minutes because they did the Funhouse, and I was so confused.
I was not into it at all.
Yeah, I just wrote down WTF.
Yep.
And it was funny. The production was really good. The fake news, or they called it the faux news, and Firefly Funhouse news. Just and can you keep a secret? So I'm like, well, I wish they would have kept this from us. That would have been a great secret for them to keep. But I don't know what at all they're building with this.
Yeah, I did not like this at all. Sometimes you can give somebody too much creative control.
Yep.
And this one, it didn't hit for me. It was, I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was same with you. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I don't understand what they're talking about. And that's Bray Wyatt in general, but I just didn't get it.
Yeah. So again, they cut to commercial, come back from a commercial, and they're in the locker room again. The wise man gives Jimmy another update, and Heyman goes through the whole tribal chief, blah blah blah. Go handle this man to man, Uso to Uso, and I was like, oof, okay, well now it's really starting to build.
Yep.
And so that was awesome. And then bam, another commercial. I'm like, dude. But out comes Rey Mysterio, and the greatest entrance in professional wrestling, Karrion Kross and Charlotte come out.
We already did that, didn't we?
No, we just talked about them, but they didn't have the match yet. This is when they had their match.
Oh, okay, okay.
This late in the show, yeah. So
gotcha.
They have
I
their
got
match.
Confused with my notes.
Yeah. So so Karrion Kross and Ray have the match, and Karrion comes out the victor. But that entrance, man, I totally love it, and not just because I like looking at the Mistress of the Dark, but that entrance and how you're like drawn in to what she's got going on, and then Karrion comes swooping up in the camera. You're just like, man, that's awesome. I still think he needs to cut his hair, but whatever. So the match goes, Karrion gets the victory, and normally the victor gets to sort of enjoy the fruit of his labor, but instead we get the Dom and Ray go nose to nose in the ring. So now you've seen Dominic. This is the third time you're seeing Dominic.
Yep.
And he's a Monday night guy, but now he's on Friday. And I'm like, dude, this is so this slime ball is getting mucho airtime, and he yells at him, he slaps himself in the face, like, hit me, do something. He mushes Ray in the face a couple of times, and Dom just like, oof, yeah. So then Ray rolls out of the ring. Dom's like, this is him. This is your legend. I was like, dude, that is dirty. But the crowd was eating it up and yelling and booing. And
they hate Dom. It's great.
Oh my Lord. So yeah, that's good piece of business there. I thought it advanced their story and where they're going to end up at WrestleMania. And it'll be father and son. I hate to say, I think son goes over, and it'll be sort of a burning storyline, and then eventually, sometime in the next year, maybe next WrestleMania, um, they'll rekindle the relationship, and Ray will give uh, Dom his mask and roll off into the sunset as a feel good moment. I don't know if they're going to push Dom to a title anytime soon.
He's not that good in the ring.
Yeah,
he's really not good.
he'll continue to develop and be sort of that storyline fodder with the Judgment Day mommy walking around with the title, and he'll cost, or he'll enable her to keep the title for a little bit. So that segment goes, commercial, come back, and now you have Jimmy coming down. Now, Jay, when he was main event Jay got to talk a lot, and he did really good as the right hand man, and even competed against Roman in a cage match when Jimmy jumped in to help, and Roman acted like he was going to bust his shoulder after he'd just been out with the busted shoulder, and so I'd never really heard Jimmy communicate a lot without his brother Jay. But I thought he did a good job on the mic, calling out to his brother. And next thing you know, this is what I did not expect. I did not expect to see Sammy in the ring. I didn't see it coming. And what did you think? Was this something that you expected?
Yeah, when they teased it at the beginning, I figured that's how it was going to go. I didn't see the attack from Jimmy going right to him, but I figured he was either going to get Sammy right in and go right after Jimmy and attack him. But storyline, it doesn't make sense because he's really just after Roman realistically. When you really start picking the threads of this apart, Jimmy and Jay were always pretty cool. Well, Jimmy was always cool to Sammy, always wanted him in the bloodline. So it's interesting that Jimmy, as he even said in the promo when Sammy got in his face, it's interesting that Jimmy was so quick to turn on him, so quick to just be like, oh, okay, cool, we'll get him out. And Jay is the one that's protecting him because Jay didn't want him in the bloodline. But it also goes back to even further with the fact that Jay didn't want to be in the bloodline to begin with, and Jimmy was all about it. And like you said, the main event Jay storyline and all that. So very good storytelling here. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good connecting the personality and the role that Roman has been playing and dominating, and having his thumb on everyone orbiting the bloodline.
Yep.
And what I didn't understand is when the spotlight hit, they acknowledged that Jay was there, and then they kept talking, and then they said, okay, hey, Jay is here. I'm like, well, you already panned to him, you knew he was there.
Right.
So then Jimmy turns a second time and takes a haluva kick, and now Jay sort of meanders down, and you're like, what are we doing here? Makes it to Barry Barricade, and um, and then out comes Solo. Sammy slides out of the ring, and Jay is still standing there, and I'm
Yep.
like, what on earth? So it was. I felt it start to finish. That whole segment, I felt it, and I am more invested in what's going to happen. I still think they're going to really swerve us, and I don't. I mean, we all want to see Sammy and Kevin versus the Bloodline or the Usos for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. But yeah, man, it was. I liked how the show ended, how it rolled out.
Yep.
It was strong.
Yeah, I agree. The ending was great. The Bloodline storyline has just been fantastic all along, and adding these new twists in it is definitely worth it. With Jimmy attacking Sammy as soon as he turned his head, which then led to the
Yep.
beatdown, and then him looking up at Jimmy, or Jimmy beating Sammy down, looking up at Jay and saying, "Hey, come on down here," to turn around right into the hell of the huluva kick, which is what brings Jay down. That was all just really good storytelling, because you still don't know what side Jay is going to fall on. He's definitely coming across as the I am very conflicted person. But I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Good segment, I should say. I
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought the whole show, everything tied together. You saw Dom sort of tell you what he wanted to tell you, then he told you what he said he was going to tell you, and then he told you what he told you again. So it was like, he was in Charlotte's face, and then he was in his dad's face, and then, or prior to that, he was sort of in Santos's face. So are you going to see Santos and Dom somehow interact between now and then? Maybe not, because they're on two separate shows. So that's a good piece of business to keep lingering. Maybe they do a draft, and then there's a thread for that storyline to continue. You didn't show your dad the respect you should have. He gave me his mask. You're not worthy of being a lucha, and they could have a cool storyline. But all in all, outside of the Bray Wyatt piece, really enjoyed the show all in all. And what'd you think? How many beards do you give it?
I give it 3.5.
Really?
3.5. Yeah,
Nice.
I enjoyed a lot of it, but it wasn't as good as some of the other stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3.5.
Yeah,
Close to a 4, but I stuck it at 3.5. Just
Yeah.
the Bray Wyatt thing really turned me off on it.
Yeah, as much as I disliked the Bray Wyatt piece, I still gave it 4 beards. I liked the backstage pieces more than I thought I would. The energy of the crowd was very, very timely, and getting to see LA Knight, yeah, and how the show closed. You got to remember the ending. I gave it the famous 4, my version of the figure 4. 4 beards from Ellie Jair. So not bad. Not a bad show. Thank you, Evansville, Indiana, for a great show. And so it kicked off, and a really good time. So
Yep.
good deal,
and,
man.
Appreciate everybody listening. That was our SmackDown review. Next, we're going to do our AEW Rampage review, which I'm probably a little more excited about. I'm trying. I'm really trying with WWE, man. I promise. But so far, every time I try to watch them, I get kind of distracted and a little bored.
Yeah.
And I don't know why yet, because I'm trying to break through and enjoy them more. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Rampage. So you'll have to stay tuned to hear that in the next podcast. Want to thank everybody again for listening to us. Please hit us up on iTunes. Leave that 5-star review. 5 stars. Drop a review in there. Tell us what you like. Follow us on No Shave Man Cave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, which we don't talk about enough. If you guys really want to see our ugly mugs, we record these in video and hang them up on YouTube. You probably got to search for them because the algorithm doesn't really like it yet, but that's because we're really not focused on the YouTube part. Could be that's in the future. Some top 5 list and those kind of things coming, but you can follow us there anyway. We appreciate everything. Shout out to the fact that we hit over 2,000 downloads in our first 30 days. Absolutely amazing. I thought we'd get there. I didn't think we'd get there in the first 30 days. So that being said, now you guys are stuck with some commercials.
Yeah.
But if this continues to grow, I can definitely see us setting up a Patreon or something to where you could do a subscription service, maybe super cheap and not have to listen to the annoying commercials. But we'll talk about that in the future as we continue. Like I said, we've only been doing this a little over 30 days. I'm having a blast at it. We're going to continue pushing along and getting better and tweaking the way we do things to based on your guys' feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to the last 30 days. Hitting 2,000, extremely humbling. Appreciate the motivation and dedication that the big guy over Jay Tilley's shoulder, Rob, has given us and given Jay Tilley. Thank you to JC, the GA Tickler, for joining us. And this has been a fantastic month.
He hit me up in a text message and was like, "What the hell did he really title it? The Tickler?" So I thought that was great.
Yeah. To learn more about the Tickler, please catch our mental health edition of the podcast. Until then, thank you so much for joining us here in the No Shave Man Cave, and appreciate the support and love we're getting from Acast and the New York Podcast Network. So with that, I'm Ellie Jair.
This is Jay Tilley.
Thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, look out for one another, and we'll see you on the floor.
You've been listening to the No Shave Man Cave.
If it's pro wrestling, we're talking about it. Unless we see something shiny and wander off into the woods. If you hang around long enough, we'll eventually come back. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Fire off your comments and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at No Shave Men Cave. Y'all be cool, and we'll see you next time on the No Shave Men Cave.